My name is Sophia. I'm a senior at the University of South Florida, and my question is, when is the time you had two students argue over controversial issues in your class? And as a Christian, how did you handle this?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Meet the Prof. This is a podcast where we seek to encourage Christ-centered conversations on the college campus. My name is Shane Hartley, and my friend Spence Hackney and I take questions from college students and then we ask them to Christian professors. And we're so glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in. And you will get to hear part 2 now of our interview with Jhon Figueroa. He is a chemistry professor at University of South Florida, and we had a great time with him. So before we jump in, if you remember to like or subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to this podcast, you can check us out on YouTube if you want to see what the professors look like. And well, let's jump in. Here is our interview with Jhon.
God is there.
Yeah.
He's the creator of the universe. He's creator of all these laws that we come to discover. So, for me, science has been passionate because it makes completely. It's the same thing. For me, when I talk about science, is thinking that I know what God knows, and that is amazing for me. It's just by knowing a little bit of what He knows is to me humbling and very gratifying to know that I know a little bit of what God was thinking when He was creating the universe, and that is a pleasure. Right? Like, believe me, it's simple things. Like when I was reading the book of I forgot what was the book that have the mention of two stars that I love them since I was young because I am a frustrated astronomer. I love astronomy. I have telescopes and all these things, and I love Pollux and Castor. So and when the Bible start mentioning about, I guess it's Job when he was mentioning, and God named some of the stars by name in that book, and I know those names. It is amazing to me because God says that He knows every single star by name, and I know a few of them by name too. So now we know each other a few things. So that you can may see as a Christian thing, but it makes me happy.
That's great. That. I feel like I want to take that snippet out and just tell everybody I know about that. That whole idea of like the heavens declare the glory of God. Just listen to the speech. It talks about they pour forth speech. How do you, when you get somebody who just refuses to listen, who says, I'd rather believe this thing that's really almost impossible to believe that it came together by chance. That's what you said. Like, it takes more faith to believe that than it does to believe it's design.
No, absolutely, If you just put a little bit of logic and really thought, and then you will see that it's impossible. There's no other way. You always, you have to literally intentionally decide not to believe, because that will be different things. It's maybe a moral thing. Maybe somebody do not want to be accountable for something. They don't want to be responding to somebody about what I'm doing, so I just prefer not to think about it and then just keep it away. That in really recognize that actually we have a creator and we need to respond to Him.
Yeah, and I think you hit it. If you refuse to believe something that's plain, that is that plain, there's other reasons going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because you've got to hang up with this or a problem with that, or you're in some sort of sin you don't want to let go of because it's, whatever the thing is. It seems like we've got to get down to dealing with that level if somebody is so irrational that they can't see what you just described. That's great. Yeah.
Well, this is a subject that a lot of times can lead people to argue, and it's appropriate that we have a question from a USF student that has to do with how you would handle arguments. So Jhon, take a listen to this student's question.
My name is Sophia. I'm a senior at the University of South Florida, and my question is, when is the time you had two students argue over controversial issues in your class? And as a Christian, how did you handle this?
Well, I never have an issue in class per se about, something like that, but I'm having conversations in my office when they come. And normally those comments that I do, there are triggers for people to come to my office and have deeper discussion. Mm-hmm. So when we have that discussion, I think he was a physicist. He was studying to be a physicist. So we came and we have discussions about second law thermodynamics and how he see it and how I see it. But he was not looking for argument. He was looking for my reasoning so he can think about it. He was questioning me, not for the sake of questioning me, but it was just I saw there was a real like inquiry. Like I
You can
was
tell the
when I was
difference.
younger. I was just asking questions, not to make you feel bad about what you believe. It's about me understanding why you believe it, so I can think about it. So it was that type of conversation. I never have arguments with people because at the end of the day, I God do not need my defense. I gonna tell people what my logic for believing is, and what my strong belief comes from, and faith. But I'm not gonna argue with people to believe or not believe in God. This is their own decision, and I gonna show them how I see it and why I see it in that way, and then they decide to do what they think they have to. But at least I encourage them to think, to process the information well, to pray. If they do, if they don't, just I always said God will. If you ask for wisdom, He always will give it to you, and especially if you seek Him, He also have a promise. If you seek Him, you will find Him. So I always discuss this about, hey, if you really want to know about this, just pray, and He will open your eyes, because sometimes we are blind.
So how would you advise Christian students like Sophia to discern if their friend or another student has a sincere heart by the questions they're asking, and even how do you respond then if the other person's just really wanting to argue with you for argument's sake, they're not teachable themselves?
Well, I always think, if you can always have the choice, always be kind. That's it. I always try to be kind with people, even when they are not with me in arguments. I always try to show kindness, because at the end of the day, if I'm preaching about something, I want to be a complete preacher, meaning from words to actions. So if I tell you that He's love and He loves us and He wants to do the best for us, I'm not going to show you disrespect or any other wrong feeling right there in the conversation that will show that what I'm saying is not the same of what I'm doing. So I always said, yeah, there's no reason for discussion. You believe in what you believe, and I always want to believe what I believe. And if you want to discuss with me, we can have arguments. And when I say arguments, it's not fighting; it's just interchanging ideas and logics. I can always have it. So more than welcome to keep the door open. I will never close a door. I will never behave in a way that I will stop somebody to come in again, because that is not what He wants for us. I mean, the way that God treated me when I was younger is the way that I should treat everybody else. He was very patient with me and have mercy and kindness to wait for me, for my process, for my rebellions, for all these things. So I should do the same with somebody else. If somebody is just not listening, not doing, not know what I know about God, I would not close the door. I always keep it open so we can have that discussion in another day.
That's very helpful. Yeah, thanks.
So it sounds like you're pretty free to share about your faith in your classroom. I know that's something a lot of professors are nervous about. Like, where do you see the line? How do you see the pressures there?
I try to be. I cannot preach as a preacher because that's not my topic, right? So I have to be careful of what I'm doing. I'm getting paid to teach chemistry, and that's what I'm doing. So, but let's see, day one of the things that I do, I try to introduce myself, like who I am. So I put a slide, bunch of pictures, and in the pictures, what I like. I have one picture camping, one in Arizona walking, and in snow, all these things. And I have a Bible in there also, and I go over everything that it has in the slides, and I discuss, this is me, this is what I do, I like this, I'm a Christian, a believer, and then all these things I just let it out. I have a picture of my son, my wife, and I tell them this is me, I'm from Colombia, and all this in a few minutes. So I lay down the ground. This is what it is. And then when I start teaching, intermolecular forces and all these things, I always bring it again. This is a design. This is the creator. This is not random. I always open the door for the discussions. And I said, if you have any discussion, somebody asked me the other day in class, and I say, yeah, we can have a discussion in our office or later on, because it will deviate it from my class at that point, right? But what I'm trying to always bring is triggers. I want triggers for good conversations, at one point. So many of the students, they say, when they come to the office, they ask me, what do you say that? What was the point of this? Or clarify me this. So I've been blessed with that feeling. So
It seems like salt, like you're salting your lectures. I have a clarifying question. When you're going through your slides, you said there's a picture of a Bible. Is it just like one slide of this big old black Bible with bold words, or what? What's
no,
that
it's
picture
actually
look like?
it's one slide, and that slide is many pictures of me, like in a collage, right? Many pictures of things
All at
that matter
once.
to me, and in one of them is also the Bible in there, meaning
Okay.
that's a book that I read, because I
Nice.
have two books. I have the Bible, and then I have also another book. It's called Cyrus the Great. I don't know if you read that,
No.
but it's one of my favorite books, and many aspects of leadership. But I have it there. And then they asked me about the books and the Bible. I mentioned specifically that's what I read every night.
That's great. We'll
read
try
the
to put a
Bible
link to
every day
that book in the
meditate on it.
notes.
That's great.
Well, let's jump into lightning round questions. So, very first one is, Jhon, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self if you could go back in time?
Let me think about. I will encourage myself to keep inquiring, because sometimes when you ask too many questions, people get upset about it. They don't probably appreciate the fact that you're seeking something. And then they shoot you down, like, this is the way it is. Then don't ask questions. You should not be asking questions. We're talking about Christianity. That was the answer many times for me.
Really?
It's just, that's the way it is. Don't ask. If you ask questions, you don't have faith, and you have to have faith. And that, to me, was contradictory. It says no. That should not be the way it is. That should not be the way it is. And I encourage people, don't just keep asking. My students, even when they do not believe, I said, keep asking questions. Keep asking questions. So don't stop. And even
That's
myself
helpful.
now, I'm still asking myself questions when I'm reading. So
Yeah, that's great.
That
That's
was
really
great
helpful.
advice.
Thanks.
So what's the nugget that you want to leave with a graduating senior going out to the real world?
my thing is, my students do not know that, but they may be seeing me a few times. I pray for my class. Normally, I arrive early, way earlier, like 15 to 20 minutes before. So normally it's one or two students in class. But when the population is complete, I normally have everything set up. And then I start walking around. It's huge auditoriums, normally more than 200 people. Go around. I remember 50 names in average every semester.
Wow.
Of students, and I call them by name. So I go and visit them. But when I'm going around, sometimes I'm quiet and I'm praying. And sometimes before I start, I just close my eyes a few seconds and I just pray to God for everybody that is in there, because they are my future. I always clearly said, you guys are my future. I'm going to be old, and then you're going to be in the peak of your profession, and probably you're going to be my doctor, and then I want you to be a good professional because I'm going to be your patient. So I want to.
That's why you teach chemistry.
Correct. So to maintain their integrity and their morals and the open mind to keep questioning, to find the answers that they're looking for life, not just professional in the professional realm, but in the spiritual realm too. To keep that, don't get steady like a lake that water is not moving, and if it doesn't move, you're gonna start smelling bad in a few years. So that sometimes we get that bad smell, because we think that now I'm saved, now I'm done, I have nothing else to do or nothing else to seek, and then we get we don't move forward in that direction, right? So, and that should something that should never stop. We always we have to keep growing and seeking and looking for something more. God always have something more for us.
Jhon, you said earlier that you love mentoring students as well as teaching them. What advice would you give to other Christian professors who have a desire to mentor students in some way?
Being open. I mean, sometimes, and I always try to ask the students, what stopped them to coming from my office? What is it that I probably portraying that they see as adverse to come to the office? And I try to remove those barriers from that happening. So for any other Christian professor, trying to keep that open office hours open, and I'm so flexible sometimes that when I know the students work or they have other life issues that they cannot come to my office, or my office hours is when they have a lab, they cannot come. I always accommodate myself to take those students in. So having that one-to-one interaction is the best, because normally, okay, they come sometimes for chemistry, but at the end of the day, we finish talking about life. Always happens, because
Really?
when they come, the first thing is, if I don't know them by name, I say, "What's your name?" Then I start a conversation like that. Okay, and what's your career? What do you want to do that? Why you want to do that? Do you live with yourself? Do you have family here? I start asking about the life of my student before we go in chemistry. So the next time that I see that person, I'm gonna ask. Let's see if they say, "Oh, my grandma is sick. I live with her." I will ask, "How's grandma doing? Is she better?" I always trying to show them that I care about them as a person by name. This is you, and I trying to understand who you are and trying to get that relationship going on. And I have students still coming into my office. I told them, once my student, always my student. So they always can come, even if they're not taking classes with me. They can just come to my office. They come and they sit and talk to me about issues, and I love that part. That's the best part of my job is that. And like one day, I'm gonna give you an example of how those blessings come in different dressings, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have a kid by then. So one of my students, we already finished the semester. So this is, I normally dress with tie.
Really?
And jackets and all this in my classes. I always say that I'm dating my student, right? That it's a relationship, and then I'm dressing in the proper way. So my semester was over, and this guy came to my office. He was always in shorts and stuff like that, but that day he came well dressed. And I immediately asked him, "Ooh, where you going? You have an interview?" He said, "Yeah, I have an interview." And then they come to practice with me. So, and then at the end, he said, "Professor, I'm going to ask you something. It's weird, but I have no choice." And I was like thinking, why is he going to ask me?
Right.
He said, "Can you help me to make my tie?" I didn't cry that day because I have to maintain my dignity, but it was so powerful what he said to me at that point, because I was eager. I was always dreaming to have a boy, my son, and I'd be able to teach basic things like this. One day I'm going to teach my son how to do it. So, and he's asking me to do that, and it was just the best feeling. I mean, you have no idea how happy I was that day. It was super. So that's the part that I'm saying, that God is paying me in that way. He's blessing me with those rewards to me, that he knows what is good for me, and he sent it to me, like that student that day.
I feel that with you. That was an encouraging story to be able to help a college guy just that way. And thanks for your advice there. I think that's that'll be challenging for a lot of faculty to go the extra mile to make themselves available for office time, and then during the office time to show that there's more than just the subject at hand, but you care about them as a person. So yeah, thanks for that advice.
Yeah, I know. And you know what triggered this? Many years ago, I have a student that she was an international student. Her parents were sent out of the country because there were not documents. Something happened in that regards, and she was left alone. And she was not having money or food in the table. And then she was a very good student. And then I realized that in test 2, she did poorly, and that she was not doing homework. So I asked her specifically what's happening. And she told me. So when after that, I know that in those phases, you don't know what's going on. And I want to be part of the blessings for them, because blessings is something that flows. If God blesses me with this job and what I'm doing, I can bless others with the same. So I needs to flow. So I always try to seek what's going on with my students and see how can I help, and how can I help them directly, like physically. I hire students too. So when I have students that I see that I need, that's good, I say, "Hey, come on, apply for this job. I can offer you this in my labs." And trying to once again share blessings.
Hey, as a parent of a college student, this is beautiful. Like you're going to one day take that 17-month-old baby and hand them out to a university somewhere, and to know there's somebody like you in that university is going to care for them is incredible. So thank you for that. So what advice would you give that parent sending their baby off to some state university, perhaps, what coaching would you give the parent?
And Jhon, this is personal for Spence. Remember,
This
today
is
he's
personal.
taking
I
his
know.
son
Yeah,
to
yeah.
NC State. Yeah.
I don't understand you by having the same experience, but I can feel it because I have my son, and it will be complicated for me too. But the only thing that we can do always as a parent, first, he's 22, and I'm betting that since he was young to now, your influence, your teachings, your guidance is in his heart. So now it's time for him to show those learnings and use them, because now you're not going to be around. So because now you don't have that directly influence, because he's not living with you, now it's prayer. This is where, I mean, I bet you pray before too, but what I'm saying is praying for him now, it will keep that mentoring and guidance still there spiritually, right? Keep checking on him. Don't ever stop checking on him, because even if they don't like it, if you stop doing it, it will create another feeling. It will create the feeling that you don't care anymore. And I want you to show always that you care about your son, no matter the age. So many of the parents that this is my feeling as a professor for many years in here with students, is that sometimes students feel that parents are happy because they are not with them. And it's like, oh no, you go. And like, there's no more interest. So many of them feel abandoned in that sense, because now they don't have that relationship. I always ask, hey, how are your family? Do you call them? Honestly, this is my conversations when they come. Who you live with? When was the last time you called your mom? And say, no, I haven't called. And say, no, you should call your mom, man. You do it. That's the way I do it. He said, but they don't call me. They don't care about me. This is when I start hearing. They don't call me anymore. They don't, I said, I know you're grown up, but now you call them, keep the relationship. So I encourage you to keep that momentum with them, with your son. Just, I don't know how you communicate, by text or calling, but always ask how he's doing, how classes, ask about drugs are real business in a university. And
that's a good one.
Be clear. Hey, somebody offer you drugs, I have you, have this, be careful with that. Be, straightforward. Tell them the truth. Hey, if this is happening, don't go there. Don't use pills. They offer, they mimic now drugs. We always go, hey, don't smoke, don't drink. But when the students now have parties, they offer, hey, do you want this candy? Do you have a test tomorrow? This is and they call it like student help or student support pill, something like that. So they give you like a gummy bear with drugs, and students don't see it as bad, because in home we normally tell them, hey, don't drink, don't smoke. That's not drink, that's not smoke, that's a gummy bear. So be clear with him, still have those conversations, refresh, right? Bring those all conversations back whenever you can. Be wise also, so you don't get bored with you, but keep doing it.
It's funny how much you reap what you sow. I've called my mom and dad every Sunday evening for most of my adult life. It's just a habit I've gotten into. And I get this call from my son one Sunday evening. And he's just doing the same thing I do with my mom and dad now. He's calling me on Sundays. And I think, like, you don't realize how much your kids are paying attention to what you do. And they emulate it. That's great advice there. I'm glad you're encouraging them to call their mom too, because moms are the ones who cry when kids don't call. Keep that up, man.
I don't know. This whole interview is making me sort of emotional too. So I know. A lot of dads probably
I'm about to lose my dignity on this call. Now that you mentioned it. Yeah.
Well, Jhon, the last lightning round question, and this is, about you and professors, because a professor even told Spence and me recently that no one understands the life of a professor except a professor. So what is one thing you think people would be surprised to know about the life of a professor?
I cannot talk about many, but I can talk about me. Is that I don't do this for the money. I do it because this is my call. And when I see instruction, being an instructor of any topic, always opens the door for be more than the instructor and be more like a
Mhm.
mentor and a guidance. We need people that actually have strong interest on investing time on the future. And when I said
Mhm.
that investing time in the future, people think a 401k or any other. Yeah, that's good to
Mhm.
have, but this is not my investment is on the young. That's my future. That's the future right there. The future of the country. And I always say this is our community. They are here. They're going to be the professionals that are going to be taking care of you
Mhm.
at one point, or your son. Now that I have a son, they're probably going to be, one of them may be the teacher of my son. I want somebody to see how I will do it so they may learn, right? So I don't know. It's just, I do this with love, and
Mhm.
I really enjoy it. It's not, sometimes you hear people that they do it because they must. It's part of their assignment. But for me, I request to teach because now my law is more administrative, 75%, sometimes 100% administrative, and I say no, please give me classes. I
Mhm.
need the young people. I like to teach Jenkins 1 and 2 because they are freshmen, and
Really?
I need them. I want to show them, hey, this is the way it works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
open your eyes and do the right thing. So.
Well, Jhon, thank you so much for this. And students and even people who care about students can learn more about you on meettheprof.com. But is there any other way they can follow you, learn more about you, or even reach out to you?
Well, I mean, they can always find the email in the USF website,
Mhm.
but this is part that I don't have any social media or anything, and it's because of my other part of my profession. It's better not to have, but no, it's easy. I mean, once they're here, they can just always find me. School website is
Great.
there.
That is the most common answer we hear from professors. Like, I don't do social
Mhm.
media, but they can email me. Do you do LinkedIn even? I know some professors do that.
No, nothing.
No.
Honestly, no. They know how to find me. So
This is why you seem so healthy to me. You're not in social media.
yeah, it's part of also a healthy process. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Well, thank you. And I know Spence feels this way too, but I'm just very grateful for not only how you minister to these students' lives down at USF, but you taking this time even to minister to us and other people who love students. So we appreciate this time, Jhon.
For sure.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for the invite, and I wish you guys the best on this program.
Well, that was an encouraging interview for Spence and me. And thank you for listening in. If you want to get to know more about Jhon, read about him on meettheprof.com. And you can just go to the website, meettheprof.com, and then search for him by first name. But remember to spell his name Jhon. Very unique spelling for Jhon, Jhon. So before we go, if you please remember to like or subscribe or follow the podcast. That helps it get out even more to college students and professors and others. And we are grateful to get to be doing this. And if you are interested in supporting this ministry financially, thank you so much. And you can give online at give.cru.org/0424344. So until next time, we hope this encourages you to have a Christ-centered conversation.